Danny, what would you put in the water to actually remineralize it? Or
if I was starting with a water that had been distilled or been through a reverse osmosis,
yes.
I would probably use a sea salt or a land salt of high quality. I don't have a lot of experience with it because, like I said, for years now this is what I've been doing, and I really think this is practical. I want to say that. I want to say that it seems illogical that you would go, but the experience of gathering your own water, like chop wood, carry water, that experience, that Zen experience, is so healing and returns you so much to your connection with the Mother Earth, right? Because the idea that we need to filter our water comes from kind of a distrust in the earth itself. And so when you see people's responses often like, oh, that came out of the ground. And so there's like a distrust that water is even fit for us to drink, even though that's really what we truly need, right? That's what we're looking for. And in French, I spent a lot of time in Montreal, and there the word for spring is la source, the source. Yeah, and it really is the source. If that's not a situation that you're creating right now and you're dealing with a reverse osmosis water or a filtered water, I would choose a salt that you really like and know that you don't have to limit yourself just to the Celtic sea salt or the Himalayan sea salt, because there are thousands of salts to choose from. There are many. Just in Hawaii they're producing a red salt and a black salt and a white salt, and there's Peruvian salts and Portugal salts and French salts, and there's salts from all ancient oceans that are dried, and those are called land salts. And there's ocean salts from all different places in the ocean that's here today. And really what those salts are, if you think about it, is that they are the concentration of an entire ecosystem. So all of the whales and turtles and dolphins and endless beings that have lived in that gigantic ocean, when the water has been removed, what's left behind is a crystal that we call halite, sodium chloride. It's a salt. And it's usually a really beautiful, interesting color, and when we find it in an ancient sea, like the Himalayan salt, which is a bright pink. And that's the crystalline remains of all of that ecosystem. And so what that has the ability to do, even a small amount of it in your water, is to be able to transmit that crystalline information back into water.
And a small amount meaning like a pinch?
So for maybe, if this was all distilled water, maybe like a teaspoon of salt would probably be where I would start. You know, your blood is 0.9% saline. So if you're going to have an IV drip, say, at a hospital, that water has to be 0.9% salt. Because if it isn't, what happens is water moves from areas of greater concentration to areas of lesser concentration. If you're a red blood cell floating in blood that's 0.9%, you're happy. If all of a sudden distilled water were added into the bloodstream without any salt, the salty blood cell has less pure water in it than the distilled water, and that will invade the cell until the cell explodes. You can watch that under a microscope. The opposite would happen if the water was really salty. It would pull the water out of the blood cell, if that makes sense. The perfect balance point is 0.9% saline. So that's typically, if you were going to do a saline water cleanse in your nose, say with a neti pot, that's about the consistency you're going for, 0.9. IV drip, same. So that's probably where I would go, somewhere in that or even less if I was adding salt to a distilled water.
And just to reiterate what you said, that this is immensely practical, what's the implications of using a Vitalizer Plus, speaking about using electricity, because I like the fact that you don't use any electricity with this and you can pretty much take it anywhere.
Yeah, water is likely the most reactive substance to energetic vibration, and I don't mean that in a kind of a new age vibration kind of way. I mean that in literally electromagnetism. It's probably the most responsive substance known. Water is the most anomalous substance known. If you think about this fact, this is a fact. Aside from liquids made by life forms, and life forms are water, so aside from liquids that are made by water-based organisms, there are no liquids on the earth except water and mercury. Those are the only two naturally occurring liquids on the planet Earth. All other liquids that we think of are either water with stuff in them, like Kool-Aid, or like your blood, or like the sap of a tree. Those are all really just water. Or else things like fats and oils, which are a liquid but they're produced by a life form. Take that away, there's only mercury and water, and since you basically probably never encounter natural mercury in your life, the only liquid that you know is water. So common is it, though, that we've forgotten, and we don't even notice that anymore. But if you think about that reality is sort of based on a four-element system. There's fire, which is energy. There's the gases, which are very refined and rarefied. They sit on top of water, the only liquid, and beneath that's the solids. So if you think about the phases of matter, solid, liquid, gas, there's only one substance that has attuned itself to whatever needs to happen for it to stay a liquid. No other substance can even hold the liquid phase of matter. Some substances, like carbon dioxide on this planet, can't even be a liquid. They'll jump right from solid to gas. That's why you see that sort of dry ice smoke thing. It can't even be a liquid. Water is the only substance that can be a liquid on planet Earth at these temperatures and at these pressures. Water is the only substance on Earth that we find in all three of its states of matter, where we can have gaseous, liquid, and solid water here. You don't see that with any other substance. No other substance expands as it gets cold. Water contracts as it gets cold, contracts and contracts until it hits 4 degrees Celsius, then it expands again. No other substance does that. Water has the highest ability to retain its temperature of any known substance. That's called specific heat. Water has the ability to resist temperature change better than anything. No other substance does this the way water does. So this water, once it's cold and insulated, it's going to want to stay cold. It's going to resist the heat. It pushes heat out of itself. It won't let the heat in. Once it does heat up, it will stay warm longer than any other substance would. So if you heated up water and you heated up a piece of iron, that piece of iron would get hot fast. The water would get hot slow. It takes a while for it to boil. Iron will get red hot. Then as soon as you take the heat away, the iron's going to dissipate its heat right off. Water stores heat. Heat is energy. Water stores energy and holds it better than any substance. Water's ability to store energy is at its greatest at 98.6 degrees, your body temperature.